The higher the rating. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, the shorter the game, the lower.
All right. So I think last time when you were talking about your thought process out loud, it was really helpful for me to see if there's something you're missing as you're doing that. So maybe we can go along the same vein again.
Okay. I'm playing Queen's Gambit because it has a lot of theory, and I don't know any of the theory.
All right, chat. Don't be
So
like
that's gonna
Alex
be
if
my
you're new.
start.
So you're starting chess and you're playing a gambit already.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna test you on that. I'm gonna take it. I know you like to live on the wild side. I mean, you are a speedrunner after all. So I'm just
I
gonna
do.
take your pawn.
Okay. I wonder if I should just check you and then take your pawn. That seems like a poor order. Maybe it's not terrible.
I mean, that's one way to win the pawn back immediately. Another pretty
I could
common
also
idea here.
bishop. I was going to go bishop to f4 or knight to c3.
Got it. If black takes right away, one move that might be good to keep in mind is just to attack the pawn right away with a move that also helps develop your piece. Do you have any ideas for that?
Wait, you want me to attack the pawn? Oh, so then go e3.
Yeah.
Doesn't that pin my bishop in, though, for my dark square?
Or you could play the Alex move with e4.
I do like e4.
That
And then I'm not
move is a
pinning.
little bit more wild, but
I'm a
it
wild
should
guy.
also work.
I'm a
Okay.
pawn pusher. Let's
There
push
we
the
go.
pawns.
All right, so you're attacking my pawn. Let's see. What do I want to do here? I think I'm going to attack your pawn back.
Okay, so I'm going to defend my pawn with a knight.
Okay.
Now, would pushing at your knight be good there? Or do you just then move over to g4 and then you're fine, kind of?
I actually really liked e5 here, because then as soon as I move my knight, say I moved it to d5, you could take on c4, and you're developing your bishop, also putting some pressure on my knight, and you have a pretty big pawn center. So I do like that move. Knight c3
I
is
just
very
wasn't sure if
natural
it's
also.
overextended.
I would say that knight c3 is a great move as well, because you're also in some ways protecting against b5. I'm gonna not try to play the trickier move here. I'm just gonna try to play something a little bit more normal. So I'm just gonna go e6, ready to develop my bishop.
Is the tricky move you playing e5 and then me doing a queen sack and
The queen sack.
or
The trickier
a
move
push to
here
d5, I guess?
would have been if I pushed b5 right away. So I think the trickiest moves in gambits are when your opponent actually tries to hang on to the pawn. So if I had played b5, you could take the pawn back, but then I would take the pawn on e4, and it gets a little bit messy. But I'm not trying to catch you in a tactic, because I think that's going to get better over time. I'm just trying to give more general strategy tips, because you're going to improve on that on your own, if that makes sense.
Okay. So I kind of like e4 or f4 right here. I know that I also like e5, but I kind of like f4 just to like keep you off of the e5 square a little bit. And then if you do, for some reason, push that, I don't know. I mean, that might be a dumb thought, because you could also just bring your bishop out, I guess. And then I'm just, but then I can fork you. So it seems like a good way to develop. I could also just take the pawn now with my bishop and get development there. So I'm kind of looking at either bishop developing.
Okay, which move are you leaning towards?
E4.
Okay, I think e5 is a pretty good option here, because at least
or f4. Sorry, f.
Okay, f4.
Okay, you still think the push at the knight?
I think the best thing to do if you're playing a gambit and you don't know theory is, if you have a good moment to take back the pawn and you're developing your piece, usually just go for it. It seems like it's going to make your life a little bit easier. f4 is a pretty weakening move here. I don't think it's actually necessary. I know you like pushing the pawns really early on, but I don't think it's the ideal move here.
Bishop f4. Sorry.
Oh, bishop f4. Well, so in terms of which pieces you want to develop quicker, what would you prioritize between the minor pieces on the king side?
Probably get my king. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So,
So I'll just take.
and I would give the strategy to people who are starting off like under 1400. Try to develop the
Yeah.
minor pieces near your king earlier just so that you can castle, because if you ever fall for a tactic that's opening up the center or something like that, it's a good thing to be able to do quickly. Also, Nicola, thanks so much for the 2,000 bits. I really appreciate it. And I am Whitehawk65 who said, you should ask Llama about his outfit. I mean, I'm already asking you about your moves, so you could explain your thought process behind your outfit as well.
I mean, we're pretty deep in the chess game, so I feel like we shouldn't distract from the chess lesson learning.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So obviously, I see you do this, and then my immediate thought is I need to push to e5 because otherwise that pawn becomes unprotected.
Nice. Yeah, so you saw my threat right away. So for
Yeah.
sure, one option you can do is to push it. If you push to e5, what can I try to do here?
Oh, you can bring your knight into e4 and then put a double threat on that piece.
Yeah, and
So that's
I mean, you can
technically okay.
defend it. You could play something like bishop d2, but you might have to give
Yeah,
your
that's what I
bishop
would do.
pair there. Or if you saw a move like queen b3 and that was your follow-up and you're attacking my bishop, then that's okay. But you just have to make sure to see the follow-up and always be careful in positions like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, e5 is
Good.
certainly one option here.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like otherwise I don't know what else I would do really in that spot, because I guess I could push f3, but f3 is kind of a trash push when I'm trying to castle kingside.
You're right.
So
f3 is kind of a trash push when you're trying to castle kingside. I'm going to try to learn from you because I often make moves like that because I just get too excited and I play it quickly.
yeah, so I guess I could bring my knight as well over to e2, and then I could have knight to replace, so then I'm not losing that protection.
Very
So
good.
that would be
Very good move.
That'd be a way to develop as well.
So I just played knight d5. I know you know the threat. I'm putting pressure on the knight on c3. I'm saying it also for people watching, and let's see how you reply to that.
Let's see. So you have that pressure. You don't really have any other pressure. My white bishop is hanging, but there's nothing attacking it really. So yeah, I think I just want to develop and get ready for a castle and then also protect.
Yep, that's great. I mean, developing moves that also help you castle and that also help protect pieces. I mean, when you get a 3-in-1 like that, it's usually a good move unless I have a scary threat right away. So I'm just gonna castle here also.
Okay. At this point, do you think it'd be good to bring my bishop to unpin that, or should I just castle and just like not mess around?
Bring your bishop to unpin it. Well, if the purpose of bishop e2 is to unpin it and you're going to castle and that's going to serve the same purpose, then you might want to just think of where the optimal spot for the bishop is instead.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just castling anyway, so it's unpinned now. Okay. So I guess what's a goal with the Queen's Gambit opening? You talk about bishop pair, but like, is that a goal because it has long diagonals or something? I know that like the more open the position, the more you like bishops, the more closed you like knights, but I never really have a great understanding besides kind of looking at the board and being like, well, maybe this is a little bit more open, you know, like right now it seems like diagonals are really nice.
Yeah,
but
I see what you mean.
Are there certain openings? I mean, I'm sure there are. Like, how does Queen Gambit favor? Does it favor those long diagonal bishops towards the king?
It does favor, especially in positions where your pawns are looking like d4 and e5. You can see that you have more space in the center, and if your bishop were on d3, it'd be pointing towards my king here. So the bishop pair is definitely very strong here, but I also have the bishop pair. Usually,
Right.
when you're thinking in terms of bishops pairs, it could be something like if you push a3 in the future to kick off my bishop, and I trade off for your knight, and all of a sudden I gave you the bishop pair by choice, then what you could try to do as one of your plans is to open up the position more and use that to your advantage. But usually, getting the bishop pair isn't something that necessarily happens unless your opponent plays in a specific line.
Okay.
It basically, they have to be willing to give it here. So
That makes sense.
since your pawns are pointing towards the king side, what you should probably go for here is like some type of king side attack. Obviously,
Yeah.
continue developing your bishop first, your rooks. Try to first bring your pieces to their best squares possible, and then you can go from there.
Okay.
So let's see. What would I try to play here? I mean, I haven't developed my pieces either. I'm kind of
I
hoping
mean, I
you're going to
feel
take
like
my
you're
knight on
bringing
d5.
your. Yeah. I mean, I have no purpose to take it at this current moment.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're playing very well so far. So I'm going to play b6. My plan is just to develop my bishop to b7. Skilled Wolf, thank you for the 12 months.
Okay.
Happy anniversary.
So my thought is that I'll push to b3 with my queen, putting threat on your knight and on your bishop at the same time.
Okay. That's a good idea because even if I protect my knight and you take it, then you're still putting pressure on my bishop. That might actually force me to trade off my bishop pair.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy with that plan. Okay, so I'm gonna take your knight. I think this is pretty similar to what a lot of club players would play as well. Their bishop is under attack, their knight is under attack, so let's just trade off.
So at this point, do I take with the knight and then replace that threat on your knight, or do I take with the pawn, kind of giving myself? I guess that opens a lane up as well for my rook, which could be nice.
Right. So when you're thinking about your, sorry, go ahead.
I feel like sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking through both pieces of it. If I take with my knight, now I've got 3 threats again still on your knight, and you've only got 2 defenders, so that's forcing you to defend it, I guess, again. If I take with my pawn, then I don't add that threat. It does give you, that becomes a weak pawn on c3 though, which I'm not a huge fan of. Kind of sitting back there with your knight chilling in the middle, just threat on it, because basically that just keeps my knight fully attached to it, essentially, you know.
So which move would you lean towards here?
I'm leaning towards the knight simply because if you do want to take my knight, then I can push my pawn into it, and then I don't have to worry as much, because I feel like your d5 knight is kind of annoying attacking that square.
Yeah, I think your thinking is very correct here. So, I mean, if you could trade your knight on e2 for my knight on d5, that would be a pretty good qualitative trade for you. The only thing that would be an issue is if you take with the knight on c3, you're kind of keeping a backwards pawn on d4, but in the sense that a backwards pawn can't be protected by any other pawns, and it also has the square right in front of it attacked by an enemy pawn. But I can't really attack it, and if I ever move my knight, you could probably push d5. So it's a pretty solid plan there. And if I ever take c3, you could always take back with your pawn and fix that pawn structure. So I like the idea.
Okay.
Cool. So knight takes c3. Okay, putting pressure on the knight. And if I play bishop b7 here, then if you trade off with the knight, and if I take with the pawn, that's usually a bad position for black, because that would mean that I finally develop my bishop on a square, and then as soon as I do, I'm putting my own pawn to block my diagonal. Yeah, exactly. So that's not a good time for me. But if I play bishop e7, I notice that you have the bishop pair, so if you take with the knight, then I might take back with the bishop here and try to trade it off.
So I have knight, bishop, queen, and you have pawn, bishop, queen defending. So ultimately, you would have to put your pawn there. So
definitely don't want to sack my queen this time.
Right. So I probably take with my knight, and then if you take with your bishop, then I guess I'm trading my bishop, which isn't great because this is my strong bishop, and your bishop's kind of stuck a little. I mean, your bishop's pretty strong as well, but
You'd be
right
giving
now
up your
it's
bishop
pretty
pair in that
blocked.
plan.
Yeah. So I could give up my bishop pair to force you to have a singled out pawn in the center that I could. Oh, but you can just push a pawn later in the c file to defend it.
Yeah, so
I guess
it wouldn't be an isolated pawn for me.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about the c pawn. I feel like I should first do some more development.
All right, so which pieces are you thinking about developing here?
Well, I'd like to get my rooks kind of behind, right? I've got this open file on the C file, so I'd like to get my A rook onto that. So I have to kick my bishop somewhere here. But there's not really a good square that you're not taking.
Right,
unless
so
I'm going.
So what
open up.
square could your bishop go to that I couldn't take it?
It's either going to d2 or e3. If it goes to e3, you can take, but then I can take, and then it is my f that I've opened up, but now I've got a rook that's bearing down on your f7 pawn.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a terrible thing, because that gives me queen, bishop, and rook all heading right at your f7 pawn.
Right, so yeah, that's not a terrible idea.
Yeah, so it's not terrible. Or I go to d2, which gives me potential once I eventually move this knight to kick over to b4, so I can get on that diagonal as well. So then I have my bishop pair lining down over that way.
Okay, yeah, that's another idea here. So you clearly see that you need to develop your pieces here, and that makes a lot of sense. The thing that might be harder to spot here, and you don't have to do right away, but if you are trying to keep your bishop pair, your queen on b3 and your bishop on c4 aren't doing much anymore. I mean, the queen on b3 is if anything, it's just blocking your own pawn, and it's helping attack a piece you don't want to take. So at some point, you might want to reposition your pieces there. But you might also decide that the knight in the center is too powerful here and just decide to trade off your bishops regardless, or you have to make a slow bishop move. So you have basically three different plans here from what you suggested, and you could pick one of those.
Is there any thought around going to a4 right now?
With your queen? Or your pawn? Okay.
Pawn a4.
So what's your idea behind pawn a4?
I guess there's not really any b5 threat exactly.
Because
so
what direction are your
great
pieces
idea with
pointing towards?
All towards your king.
Right. So if you are going to push a pawn, what pawn would you prefer to push?
Probably that f pawn.
Right.
Go after f5 so I can attack that.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, if your pawn gets to f5, you're also kind of distracting my pawn from e6 to have to take on f5, which also creates problems for my knight. So usually before you make a pawn push, because pawn pushes are also weakening, so a move like a4, while you're gaining space, now the b4 square in the future might be more weak and my knight might be able to get there. So if you aren't planning to push your pawns or create some type of plan on the queen side, then don't push your pawns on both sides. Try to like optimize for one side, and then you're going to save time and not create any extra weaknesses.
Okay. I kind of like f4 right now, honestly.
I thought you might, because of your
playing style.
I'm
a big pusher.
Yeah, you're a big pawn pusher. You're a big pawn pusher.
But like, it opens up a lot of potential ideas there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess the only issue is, let's see, if you go g6 in some sort of response.
I mean, if you have me playing g6, you're weakening my king side, so that's a pretty solid move. Yeah.
Right. I guess you could also bring your queen out over there. And then I don't really have any... but then you are losing your knight in the middle.
Right, so I do have to take care of that knight. So I think upon like a move like f4 is good. The only thing I would say for future games is always keep in mind that if your bishop is still on c1 instead of d2, it's going to be harder for you to get your rook into the game. And you usually want your pieces to be developed before you start attacking, just so that, they could come in as quickly as possible.
Well, I do love Diablo 2, so D2 it is. Let's go.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, and
That's how I decide my moves.
somebody in chat was saying I put Diablo in the title, but yes, it is Diablo 2. We have Diablo 2 and the something expansion pack because Mr.
And I
Llama
will
said to get
never
it.
play D3. Never.
Wow. Why is it so bad? It's okay. We'll ask you that later.
That square is forbidden. There's an X on that square. I'm just not allowed to ever move to it.
Understood. All right. So, I mean, now you have a plan. You know which side to attack to. You have all your minor pieces developed. Not your rooks yet, but you're getting pretty close. So, what am I going to do? I mean, this knight on d5 is actually pretty annoying, and it makes my plans more difficult. So, it's actually awkward for me to try and develop my pieces here because you're just putting pressure on d5, so I can't play something like knight d2 because that blocks it. I can't play knight c6 because that blocks my bishop. So yeah, c5 is an option if I'm trying to tear a bit apart at your center. The problem, actually, what is the problem with c5? I'll ask you. Yay.
Sure, let me see. If you push to c5, then I take, and then you take back, and now you've got an isolated pawn. But so do no, I don't.
I do have an isolated pawn, but I have an even bigger problem.
Oh, you lose your bishop.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So I should probably not do that. Okay, so I think at this point someone might just take the knight. Otherwise, maybe they would just like play their knight and lose a piece in the center. I'm pretending I'm an imaginary opponent because then I could feel better about my bad moves here.
Right, yeah.
The person playing black who's playing wrong would probably play something like this.
At this point, I feel like taking with the pawn is the better move, even though generally I'm supposed to take with the stronger pieces. It does block my bishop in, so if I take with my bishop, I actually give myself a little bit more. I can get on that b4 square and go after your rook and be annoying. So maybe it is better to take with the bishop. I just feel like it requires a second move then after that.
So one key thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about bishop placement is a bishop on c3 actually has 3 pawns on its diagonal. So it is actually pretty closed off. So it is like you're moving your bishop on a closed off diagonal if you take with a c pawn. Sorry, if you take with the bishop. Your bishop actually has more control on d2 than it would have on c3.
Yep.
So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing to keep in mind after taking is, do I have any moves in the future like c5 to challenge your center pawn? And what is that going to do to your pawn structure? Because you're making a decision that's going to influence your pawn structure now. So if you have any plans on what I'm trying to do to your pawn structure in the future, so a move like c5 trying to threaten on d4, then it can kind of help you decide what would be best here. That being said, I don't think either move is wrong. So like you could play either and still be fine here. It's I wouldn't sweat the details too much. Just make sure you have a solid plan with whichever one you pick. Okay, b takes c3. Cool.
I like going c3 because this does allow me to bring my bishop back to c1, and then I can go to a3 and I can get to the same spot I want, but I'm still keeping pressure on your bishop, and this doesn't allow you to make c5 still.
I'm curious why you like the bishop c1, bishop a3 idea.
Because I like threatening your rook over there and getting on that line. I don't know. It feels like you're very closed in right now. But I guess once you move your queen out, then you're not in trouble. So I guess it was more while the knight was existing and you were very stuck over there. It felt like a good spot to be in. But now I kind of like d2 better, actually.
You like d2 better. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a serotonin plan. It feels good at first because you have a threat, but it's a really easy threat to block. And then if you would have wasted 2 moves playing bishop c1, bishop a3, I just move my rook away, and your bishop is not really doing anything on a3 versus the original plan you had, which is a pretty solid long-term plan.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, now I'm going to try to be a little bit tricky. So I'm coming with c5 here.
Okay, so if I take, I lose my bishop.
Yay!
See, this is why d2 was wrong. This is why I should have gone to e3.
Actually, it wasn't wrong.
Tricky,
You just
tricky.
have to take care of this threat. Because otherwise you
Okay, well,
would
I
have
mean, if
traded
you
off your
take it,
bishop, so always trade-offs.
yeah, if you take it, it's not bad because then I just grab again for my c pawn, and then I'm right there again. I guess it's not defended a second time though.
Correct.
So now I could just move to e3 and get a defense going. I could also bring a rook over, but then my bishop's still in the way. I guess if I bring a rook, I mean, you have a queen trying to barrel down at me, so that doesn't really do a lot of good for you. If I have
You know what happens to my queens here, so.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to encourage you to get your queen out and start playing with it.
I think it's really good that you saw the move rook e1. That's a pretty active way to try to defend. You're also doing something with the rook on a1, which was underdeveloped for now.
Yeah.
If you do go for that, just make sure that there actually is a discovery attack after c takes d4, c takes d4, queen takes d4. Because if there's no discovery attack, then I just win a pawn. So always calculate those, even if they look good, make sure there's a follow-up at the end.
So I guess here's my thought. I go rook d1, you go pawn d4, I go pawn takes, and then you take with your queen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess I can go bishop b4 and put pressure on your rook.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got pressure on your rook and your queen. And so now you have to lose one of those two.
Yeah. And if you play bishop b4 and I play queen e4, threatening checkmate on g2, what do you do?
I just bring. Oh. I get greedy and take your rook.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Don't checkmate yourself like that. You didn't wear a nice shirt to get mated on the 13th move. Come on.
Well, I could go f3.
Yes, and f3 is blocking my queen. I can't check you anywhere on e3 because the queen is covering that square. The rook is covering the d4 square, so I have to move my queen, and then my bishop is in trouble. So nice job. Nice job. Okay, rook a d1. Cool. So I'm going to pretend that I saw that plan. I'm not going to fall for it. And I'm actually the one in trouble now because d takes c5.
I told you it.
I know. You shouldn't have told me your plan.
This is the problem with saying all of your moves out loud.
Yeah. Also, Face Just, good to see you in the chat. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I said I would have had you otherwise. Yeah, you go.
Thanks for going easy on me. I appreciate it. So now if it was your turn to move, what would you play?
Oh, but it's your turn.
I know, but I want to see if you see the threat here.
If it was my turn to move, I mean, I would probably just take your pawn.
On c5, and I can't take back because of what?
You lose your bishop then.
Right. So I need to try to take care of it. What would you suggest for black here?
Resign.
Wow. Okay. All right. I'm not going to make you do both sides of the pieces. I used to hate it when my coach would do that to me. So I'm going to play. But I mean, it was effective, but I would hate it because then my coach would be like, okay, now what would black do? And I'd be like, that's your job.
You do that move and I do my side.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
Please. No, I can do both. I can try and do both.
No, I'm just gonna move my queen off the d file and protect the pawn, and the bishop. Just an easy move here.
Yeah. So now I could go b5, putting threat on the pawn and keeping the threat on the. Oh well, you're protecting your bishop now. Never mind.
What piece were you gonna move to b5?
I was gonna move my queen, but that doesn't do anything. I was
Right.
thinking I throw more threat over at c5, but you've got your bishop protected, so it's foolish now.
Right.
So
And
if I trade these
usually,
pawns,
mhm.
and I've got isolated, dude. So do you. It's just kind of weird.
I just wanted to say one thing, since I
Yeah.
caught it in your thought process. In general, moves like Queen B5 that are a one move threat that can be solved, and you have to move your queen. It's usually not worth it unless it's like a really scary double check. If it's a double check or anything like that, it's good. But otherwise, you don't want your queen to just be making threats, especially your queen. Other pieces may be okay, but not the queen.
So I'm kind of feeling like I want to move my bishop, my dark square bishop, just to get him off of this square.
Where do you want to move him to? Face Chest, thanks for gifting
If I
to
move
Nate's
him over
here.
to e3, I reinforce the d pawn a little bit further, which doesn't seem too bad. I stay on
Okay,
that
that's
diagonal.
that's one plan. So if I were to ask you, like, talk about the position here,
Yeah.
how would you make a plan? So try to do like an analysis. So give me something on how the material is, how the king safety is, how the pawn structure is, how the quality of the pieces are. Trying to like a giant overview, and then see if that can help form your plan.
Okay, well, white's super ahead here. You're underdeveloped. I have a more open position. I can kind of move around freely and do what I want. And I mean, my rooks are more active, and yeah, yeah. I've got my bishop pair. You don't. So I want to take advantage of diagonals, I guess, a little bit more and open boards a little more. You have a checkmate threat on g2 still with the queen nearby, so I have to just always keep an eye on that.
Okay.
But you do have a really good white square bishop, whereas my bishop on the white square isn't quite as good. So maybe pulling that back to d3 would be kind of nice, just to open up another diagonal and start making you really think about protecting your king side and doing some junk over there. I want to push that f pawn, but obviously I have to worry about getting mated there. So I guess I could push the f pawn to f4, and then I could move my rook to f2 and protect that pawn a little bit more, but it's still kind of a scary spot. So plans are like queen c2, bishop d4, and then I'm threatening you on your h pawn.
Wait, sorry, bishop where after queen c2?
Ah, crap, I can't go to d3. Oh, you're right.
I mean, you can go to d3 with your bishop
But then
after.
who am I? I've
It,
given up all of my integrity and my
I
morals.
knew you would sell out for d3. Chat, he said
Ah.
he's only a d2 player, but we got the evidence. It's been confirmed. Chat is asking. It's a reference to Diablo 3.
Oh, well, that sucks, and we're screwed on that. Okay. At the same time, I need to be aware of kind of threats that are existing a little bit. So you're attacking my d pawn, and I do have support on that. I have support on the bishop on the follow-up behind it as well. That is from the queen. If I move, I mean, those are both feeling okay. I kind of like going to e3 still.
Okay,
To be
so
honest,
let me ask you some more pointed questions. Who's
sure.
ahead of development here?
Me.
Right. And when you're ahead in development, do you have a long-term or a short-term advantage?
Short term.
Short term, right? Because what happens if you take too long to use your advance in development?
Then you get developed as well, and then I
Yeah,
don't feel as good.
exactly. So when you are ahead in development, you often don't want to like keep switching your moves around because that just gives me time, right? So if you make moves like bishop d3 or bishop e3 or bishop d3, I mean, you've already developed those bishops and you're moving them a second time, which is kind of losing tempos unless you have a really good threat, and it gives me the time to
Right.
develop my knight. Um, who has the spatial advantage here?
I do.
You do. Yeah. So you definitely have more space. You're ahead in development. Whose king is safer?
Equal.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The kings are relatively equal. If you could keep the position closed or open, what would you prefer?
I mean, I'm open because I got bishop pair.
Exactly. So your plan has to basically put those ideas together. So your pieces have gotten ahead in development and you want to try to use them. You don't want to move them too many times unless you don't have a plan where they are right now. But your queen on b3 and your bishop on c4 are already pointing towards my king. If you could somehow create some type of pawn break that would, open up the position a little bit more and start to create some type of attack, that would also play into your dynamic advantage, which is trying to go for something quickly because my knight hasn't developed yet, my rook hasn't developed yet.
So I guess my thoughts are, one, I can push my bishop to b5 and then your knight, but then I'm just sacking for a bishop pair,
then
which
you're
doesn't do a
moving the
lot.
bishop.
Right.
You're gonna have to move your bishop
Yeah.
three
All
times
right.
to take my knight
So
once.
if I go d5, I've got double on that, and you've got double, but I have the tempo on it. So that would be a good breaking move right now. And that's what I was thinking about by moving my bishop to e3, was then I can make d5 after that. And if you take, I just take back, and then I make d5. So
okay, keep going.
I guess I could do it right now, or I could do it with one more piece on it, so you literally wouldn't have time to catch up regardless.
Okay, so d5 is one idea, but what about your original pawn push idea?
I mean, we could just shove f4 and start pushing that way. I guess my only thought was still that g2 scare, but if I just bring my rook up to f2, if you move your queen down, then there's not an issue there.
Exactly, because you already found that combination there. I mean, I think a lot of times people give too much power to a checkmate threat like that because you can stop it pretty quickly with rook f2. And in fact, your rook wants to maybe be on f2 anyways in case you want to double. What's the difference between going for a plan like f4 and f5 versus one like d5? How would you pick between those two plans?
Well, usually I'd go for d5 because too many pieces on the board, and then I get, I lose my mind.
Panic and just push a piece.
Right. So if I can simplify down to just a couple pieces, then my stupid brain can understand it better, and I can make a better move generally. So,
I know you're kidding, but you are actually learning chess very quickly, so I'd like to just point that out as you create self-deprecating jokes.
So I go d5, and then you're in trouble there because what? If you take, I take, you take, I take, and now I have a queen threatening your rook, and you have to move your knight out, and you're down a piece as well.
I'm down a piece?
No, you're not. It's equal trade, but my queen is now in a better attacking position, and your pawn structure is weakened over towards your king side.
Okay.
But I guess then you.
But what about your pawn structure? What happens after you push d5?
Well, pawns are meant to die.
Wow! You're breaking up your nice pawn chain so easily. You're just throwing your soldiers forward like that, and oh my gosh.
You have to remember that this is the llama way. You push the pawns to their death while the king sits back and eats his grapes.
I would not want to serve
his
under you.
His rook peels them for him, by the way. That's why he stands so close.
Oh man. But okay, so the point I was gonna make is if you push d5, you are creating two isolated pawns. Because you're gonna, I mean, you already have the pawn on a2 and the pawn on c3. Also, if you push d5, you also have to start considering if I can just take e5. And if you push d5, I take, bishop takes, you're trading off the bishop pair and you've created a worse pawn structure, and then I could just develop my knight right away. Versus if you go for something like f4 and f5, you're keeping your pawn chain. Once your pawn gets to, once your pawn gets to f5, if I ever take, you're coming in with your rook.
I didn't see your queen threatening e5. I just totally blanked over that. So I was like, oh, that dude's fine there, but he has no protection. So
got it. No, that's fair.
Nice.
And just to summarize a little bit, so when you're in the middle game, it's very tough to try to create a good plan there. Something that really helps is just trying to um, at the beginning go through the process of like, does my opponent have any threats? Do I have immediate threats? No. Understanding the general position, looking at king safety, pawn structure, the difference between the quality of the pieces and piece activities, weaknesses your opponents have. Like, just even ask your questions. Ask yourself those questions, and a lot of strong players do this as well when they're having trouble with a position or when they're trying to understand something, and that usually helps you create a plan. Just because otherwise you may have not noticed everything, you may have skimmed over it, and then eventually you just do it automatically.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Sorry for rambling on there. Well, I'm gonna try to checkmate you. So let's just try to give you some anxiety here.
Don't get out of... Oh, my God.
Okay. So now, if you push F5, maybe I'll take it since he can't take back. Okay. Well, I need to come up with some kind of counter attack here. So let's see. Okay, maybe I'll start with this.
Okay. So my immediate thought is queen b5, forcing a trade and then forcing you to move your knight again.
Serotonin moves, yes.
Don't know what that means, but sure.
That means a move that makes you feel good in the moment, but maybe it doesn't have the best long-term benefits.
Yeah, probably not. But like, I go queen, you trade your queen, otherwise you lose your knight. I take with bishop, and now my bishop's threatening your knight. And where does your knight go? He dies if he goes to e5. He dies at f6. He can't go to the other two forward squares. He can't go there, so he literally just goes back to where he came from.
Or
I'm not trying to be, that guy, but go back to where you came from, knight. Or you push your bishop.
This pieceism is not going to be allowed anymore. It's 2020, Mr. Llama. You cannot just discriminate against pieces like that so openly. We are going to cancel you if you do that, so be careful, okay?
Sorry.
First pawns, now knights, you've gone too far, buddy.
I guess you could also just you could then develop your A rook, and so I've just given you free development, which isn't great. So
yeah,
I've lost
exactly. And again, you're the one who's closer to any type of kingside attack. I mean, I do have the G2 threat, and if you were panicking about it, I understand why you might want to trade queens. But I would say you're still the side with better attacking chances. So maybe you should try to keep your queen on the board, because your queen is more annoying to me than my queen is to you.
Yeah, but it's just pieces, man. It's just so many pieces. Oh my God. Okay. So now you moved your knight out, which gives you, once again, not a lot. That knight development move doesn't really do anything, I feel like. You put some pressure on e5, but that's the only pressure you have. I've got pawn support on it. So I still feel like I can't, though, because you checkmate me if I push. So now I'm doubling up my rooks, I guess, because this rook is literally useless right now.
Okay, I mean,
so I feel like
doubling
I'm just
up...
going to f1, and then I can... Oh, I can't push, though, still, because you can still mate me. Son of a gun.
So, how are you going to be able to push your pawns and not get checkmated?
I guess I just resign. You're right.
You're right. Good game. Nice lesson. Diablo time.
It sucks. I could move my bishop back to f1. That's a weird move, but it technically does protect that square and allows for pushing purposes.
That's true, but where's it going to go in the future?
Yeah, who knows? I could move my bishop back to d3, so then I can make that push. That's a thought.
Yeah, that's a thought as well.
And then that also gets a line on your h pawn, which I like.
Is there any way to try and get rid of the queen that's putting pressure on g2 without trading it off?
Nope.
None at all.
0 ways.
Okay, find the way, Mr. Llama. Find it.
Okay, so if I put my bishop there.
Bishop where? There is
On
a little tough for me.
on b5. There,
Okay.
I'm pointing to it. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
If I put my bishop on b5, you can move your queen to d5, and then I take your queen, and then I get a free knight, so that wouldn't work for you.
Right. Good,
okay, so
good
that
find.
does work for me then. Okay.
Yeah, so bishop b5 is strong because I can't play queen e4 trying something tricky like queen g6 because then my knight is hanging. If I play queen d5, you found the tactic. I'm just going to show chat again. He would trade off my queen, and then my knight is hanging. So let's play queen c7 instead.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And now I don't have to worry about checkmate, so now I can push my pawn.
Yep.
So now I'm going to...
So now you're pushing your pawn. Let's see. Wait, so you're pushing the pawn, and I always have the option to take or keep the position as is here. So let's see. I mean, if I wanted to be tricky, I would probably play bishop d5. So let's try to be a little bit tricky here.
Well, that's not nice of you.
I gotta do what I can.
I mean, my queen is literally doing nothing except protecting this bishop. So I might as well drop back to like b1, keep the bishop protected, and now I've added another defender to f5. Plus, I've got more on this line towards your h-pawn.
I mean, queen b1 also protects the pawn on a2. So yeah, that's a pretty solid move.
I feel like it's that or it's a4, and then I'm protecting both of those pieces still.
Right. And I mean, a4 also puts pressure on the knight on d7, which would force me to have to defend it if you wanted to have a forcing move. But your queen is probably better placed on b1. So
yeah, because my thought is, once again, if I go to a4, then you get to move your one. Well, I guess if you move that, no, I can't win that pawn. So then, yeah, you just get a free development from your rook. So I don't want to give you development, so I'm going to go here instead.
I wouldn't say free development, but yeah, I mean, I am putting my rook on a square it wants to be anyway, and you don't really have the plan of trading off my knight. So yeah, that works. People in my chat are asking if c4 was an option. Yeah, c4 was an option as well. In general, what I'm trying to go through here is just prioritize moves that are like pretty good and they have some type of plan that he's going for, because I think that's going to help the most overall rather than just trying to find the absolute perfect move, which isn't the best for a chess improvement.
I feel like if I go c4, you can either go to e4 and then you've got pressure on that pawn in back there, or you can go back to b2 or b7 and then you still have that diagonal, and now my pawn structure is kind of broken down a little more.
And your bishop is going to have trouble getting back. So I actually do like queen b1 better. Okay, cool. So queen b1, let's see. What would somebody play in your shoes? Somebody, not me, because you have a better position and I need an excuse for that.
If I was black right now, I'd probably... Okay, so you're being threatened on your F pawn stuff.
My F pawn stuff.
Yeah.
That was very eloquent. Like, I understand how you used to be a caster. I think if I heard that explanation, I would just hire you on the spot.
All right. I was almost a successful StarCraft caster, and there was just a couple hiccups with a birth certificate and some legal things or something, and that's why it didn't work out.
Wait, is that real?
No, they just didn't like my casting because I was not good at it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Thanks for making me feel bad and not allowed to have an excuse.
No. But you actually were a caster. Oh gosh, that's not what I meant.
Yeah, no, I failed casting for like 2 years. And then I was like, well, I guess I'll just go play Diablo 2. And people are like, hey, this is better. We like this when you're not talking about other people.
I think you're trolling me. I think you're trolling me.
Check out the first 250 videos on my YouTube. Actually, don't, because they're all bad. That's terrible casting. Okay.
Well,
So,
chat. I thought. I mean, Llama's clearly a very good caster. I was trying to joke there. So anyway, okay, let's go back before I dig a hole even deeper, which I'm really good at.
You're great at that. Okay, so at this point, taking is not great. If you push to G5, that's not good, or G6, because then I just take and break your structure more, and I can bring my bishop in that back spot.
Is F6 a scary move for me? Do I have to take on F5 to stop it, or am I okay with letting you go to F6?
Well, if you go to is F6 scary from your side?
Yeah. Should I be afraid of it?
Well, you should always be afraid, but yes, you should, because then I'm attacking your king structure.
And because I don't have a dark squared bishop, if I move a pawn like G6 after, my dark squares are very vulnerable, and that should be a pretty big advantage to you in the future.
And then I'm also open to probably trading my light squared bishop for your knight, so then you can't even take back there, and you have to take with that G pawn.
Right, but I mean, if I push F6, I would probably play G6 because I want to keep the pawn in front of me. And at that point, you wouldn't trade off your beautiful bishop pair, right?
Right.
Yeah. For those of you asking, he is a streamer. His name is Mr. Llama. We got his username in our description, but we also have his link in the chat. Go apologize to him on my casting comment.
It's okay. So, yeah. Okay. I'll tell my chat.
All right, so yeah, I don't like F6 because of G6. So instead, I'm going to play E takes F5, and you have a beautiful position. I mean, I really like your position here. I almost don't want to help you anymore because then you might beat me.
Well, that's the hope.
No. So I think when it gets too close, I'm going to be like, you're on your own, buddy. Good luck.
You're like, see ya.
See ya. Wouldn't want to beat.
I feel like at this point, queen takes is the move just because it's more powerful.
Yep. And it's putting pressure where?
It puts pressure on the F7 as well as H. I mean, it puts pressure on both of them. Whereas I cut off that diagonal if I use my rook. So.
And it also attacks
on the knight. Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, that's nice. Yeah, that's a triple threat. Can't ask for more than that.
Danny Rose, thank you so much for the 5 subs. I really appreciate it. You're so generous.
I once lived in a not very nice apartment, and I went to the pool where a guy talked to me for about 2 hours about how he was a triple threat. He could sing, dance, and whatever the third one is, act.
Ooh, and how the trifecta.
How he was going to be the next big thing.
I mean, did you get his digits, Mr. Llama? You could have ridden on his success, on his coattails.
I tried, but he didn't have a phone.
No way.
So it was, it wasn't a good.
I can't believe he didn't want to give you his number. He spends his time talking you up, and then he didn't even want to give his digits. Oh, Mr. Llama.
So, I mean, okay, so you've moved your bishop there. So at this point, I have no choice but to resign because my queen's dead.
You're right. You're very advanced. You always know the right thing to do.
Thank you. That's my specialty. So I'm probably just bringing my queen over to G5, and then I'm threatening nothing with that. Never mind.
So here's another time where maybe you could think a little bit about your overall plan, because it's really easy when your opponent has a threat to just think, okay, I need to move my queen. But if you have the bigger picture in mind, then you could pick a good queen square to move to.
Okay, so the bigger picture in mind is that I want to mate you.
Okay. I thought you told chat you're going to be behaving today, but that's fine.
Jesus Christ. In the game. Oh my God.
I'm sorry. I had to. You set me up.
Now you're going to get him going for the next 2 hours.
You set me up. I'm sorry.
Oh, God.
It's a.
Checkmate. I want to checkmate
I'm
you.
just trying to teach you to use
People
all
say
your words.
mate. Gosh. Here we go for 2 hours. All right, mods, get ready. Okay. I want to checkmate you. Is the overall plan. I mean, I don't really have a ton of squares I feel great about. I mean, I don't have a ton of squares I can move to. I guess the first thing is I can just stick on this diagonal. So I can simply just retreat back and maybe even go somewhere like E4, threatening like my bishop to C6, and then, you know, more things kind of. That's not a great plan, but it's something.
And I'm just gonna ask this question again. Where are you focusing your attack in this position?
I'm focusing on the kings.
Okay, so instead of bishop c6, is there maybe a better use for your light squared bishop?
No, there's not.
Okay, so let's pretend your queen was on e4 right now. And you had to move your light square bishop somewhere. How would you pick between bishop c6 and bishop d3?
Well, I can't go to d3. We've already established this.
You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to.
Okay, so what we do is we go bishop a4 and then bishop c2, and we can get on that diagonal so we can mate.
It's too slow.
Without having to go to d3. We have morals, Botez. We have morals, and d3 has not been touched this entire game for a reason.
Look, we're never gonna talk about it. Your bishop's gonna be on d3. You're gonna have a nice game, and no one's gonna know you sold out to Diablo 3. No one. Okay, queen e4. Yeah, so the reason I asked about the plan is because this would shape your opinion between, like, for example, queen e4 or queen g5 or queen b1, which then would put the bishop in front of the queen. But you just want to keep in mind that you have the bishop pair, central advantage, semi-open f-file. You should be attacking towards my king, and your bishop is no longer doing anything on b5. You're not trying to take that knight on d7. I mean, that knight on d7 is not having a good time. He would be very happy to get traded off, but a move like repositioning your bishop to d3 would be pretty strong.
Yeah. So, no, that plan thing actually made a lot of sense because I was only looking at f4, f3, or g5 as my potentials. And obviously I like g5, but only if my bishop is then further. So I could go like g5, g3, and then bring my dark square bishop over, but that takes a little bit of time.
Right.
And I don't know if that's too slow, you know?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Another move could have also...
I kind of like being on the dark squares.
Sorry, I was just going to say another move could have also been queen b1 if you were afraid of me taking your a2 pawn, and then bishop d3 is still a good move because you're still going to try to basically coerce my kingside pawns into moving. As soon as you have one of my kingside pawns that moves, then I'm going to have a lot more holes on the kingside, and then you could try to figure out a way to exploit them. So since you didn't protect your pawn on a2, I'm going to take it. I still think you're better here, but I'm just going to be a greedy Guillermo and take that a pawn and hope for the best, really.
So why wouldn't you take e5 with your queen right now?
E5 with the queen? You mean why wouldn't I give you my queen for free?
Yes.
Well, I know that I have a history of Botez gambiting, but I'm trying to change, okay, Mr. Llama? I'm trying to change my ways, sir. Okay. Doofaman, thanks for the Twitch Prime.
I was hoping you could give me a freebie. Okay, so if I pull back now, I'm threatening mate and forcing you to do something.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, pretty solid here. So, what's Black's best defense here?
I think you only have one defense, and that's the pawn, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing you're talking about g6. I mean, f5 is technically also possible. Pawn takes, knight takes f6, but it's a little bit messy. I don't think most people would play it, so I'm going to just go with g6.
Okay. I mean, yeah, because if you play f5, then I take with my rook and then your rook's under threat. So
Yeah, you could also just take
what
the
do you...
pawn for free. Exactly.
Oh, I could en passant it, I guess.
Yeah, for some reason I was looking at en passant. I wasn't even thinking about you taking the free pawn. But anyway, yeah, g6 is the right move. I'm sorry, you're the teacher.
On it, then you have your knight and you take it. And now you've got your square defended, so that doesn't make him feel as good.
Yeah, exactly. No, but
So
good call.
at this point, I go to h6, and then I threaten your bishop and your rook at the same time, and so you have to lose something.
It seems I do have to lose something. Or maybe I'll come up with something sneaky. We'll see. We'll see.
I'm eagerly awaiting.
Okay, and I'm going to do that teacher thing where I ask you, is there any way I could try to save my bishop and my rook?
Let me see. If you put a threat on my queen or a better piece... Oh, yeah, you could just go to b3. And then you're fine, I guess. Kind of.
Yeah, so b3 is what I would try to do here if I'm trying to be tricky. I mean,
but then I would go to b2, right? Or b1 with my rook.
Yep.
And then...
Or even rook f1 if you think like your attack is more important than the exchange. Those are two good options. But sometimes it's easier to just take the material. But I also do have c4 here. So there's a little bit to calculate, but yeah, both moves are good.
Don't I just take it?
After rook b1, don't you just take c4?
Yeah, with my bishop.
If you take with your bishop, then you're giving me a bishop back. But even with c4, I can't actually take your bishop because then mine's not protected.
Wait, c4 with the pawn.
Yeah, sorry, with the pawn. No,
okay,
my bad, sorry.
I thought we were talking bishop moves. Okay, so I could go to f1 and just say, I'm just going to double up right here. But then you can move your knight out. Now your queen's protecting. But then I take that rook. So it's really not well defended. So f1 almost seems better than...
Yeah. F1 like is B2, very scary.
b2 has you almost dead. I guess you can always pull back to e6, though, with that bishop.
Yeah, but if I pull back to e6, then would you rather have your bishop on b1 or f1? Because it's like the same position where you can take my rook, but you're just picking between where you want your rook to be.
Right.
So which one of the two squares is better here?
I think I just take your rook, actually.
Oh, right now you just take my rook?
No.
I mean, you can take my rook if you have a good follow-up.
All right, hold on. Because I have threats on both your rooks, because my queen is going at your rook.
Yes, your queen is going at my rook.
So if I take your rook with my queen, then you clean up and take my queen with your rook.
Wait.
Do I have any, like,
You're taking my rook with your queen right now?
Yeah, hold on. I'm looking to see if I can mate you right now with some weird, like, then I take right there.
Where's right there?
Okay. Well, sorry. F7, because then you... Oh, no, because then you can take with your king. I always forget the king can, like, take pieces.
Yeah, okay, he's not totally useless, you know. Yeah, you've been trolling the other pieces. Let the king off.
My dude is super lazy. Okay, so I take the rook, but then you just take the rook back with your rook.
Yep.
So you have to kind of take that, and then your bishop is still...
These two positions are going to transpose. So, I mean, if you take bishop takes f8, I have to take back with my rook. Otherwise, your queen is going to take on a8. And then I take back with the rook, and then it's your turn to move where to go. So you could have had that similar position if you played rook f1 or rook b1, but you're basically just delaying the moment where you have to make a choice. And that can often be helpful because then you could calculate a little bit less and make the choice with the position at hand, especially while you're still learning.
Yeah, I kind of like just going F1.
Okay,
But you
go for it then. That's a pretty good move. Also, Andrea is here, so.
Bishop.
Hello,
Hi,
Llama.
Andrea. Hi. How's it going? How we're
I can't
friends?
hear Llama back.
All right, so you played Rook F1. Now you have
Have this.
Let's see. I can't move my bishop because if I move my rook from
Wow.
F8, what's gonna happen?
I mean, your pawn is defended by your bishop, but he can easily push c4, so...
Andrea, thank you. I was asking Mr. Llama.
Oh, I thought you were asking me.
I can easily push c4 and block off any
That
of your
was
bishops.
unintentional.
Okay, to be fair, before Andrea talked, I drew the line from your bishop to the pawn and
Okay,
said, well,
see,
she's
Llama already
protecting the
had it.
pawn, so I would want to get in the way of that somehow.
Well,
So
now you
either
have
with-
competition for top student.
I was looking at d5, but I guess the better move obviously would just be c4, because then I can have the bishop protecting it.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a little bit of a tactical find that you would need to see. So because of that, I'm just not going to move my bishop from that
I
square.
really thought you were asking
No.
me.
So here,
It's
I
okay,
think you
Andrea,
have a
I
much better
appreciate it.
position. Do you want to try
had
and play this one on your own, and then we'll give you tips after, so you can actually try and see if you can win it?
You just don't want to lose, but okay, sure. We'll do that.
Okay, Andrea, you played the black pieces.
No, you're lost. You got yourself in this
No,
mess.
Andrea.
You lose. Take the dignity loss and lose this game. Let Llama beat you.
Wow. Okay.
You're up a pawn right now, Alex. I know
He's
positionally
coming.
it's not great, but you're up a pawn.
No, she's up a pawn, but Llama, you got this. I have more faith in you here.
Okay, Andrea.
Thank you. Get your llama winning song ready. Oh no, that's not nice.
Ooh. Well,
That's
that is a
tricky.
little tricky, but you still got this. But I
That's
feel like she
very
might
Who are you
win.
cheering? You think I
I'm
can
not-
sleep at night if I lose to Llama, Andrea?
I'm cheering for Llama. There is a Llama winning. Yeah, Llama. No, Llama. If you lose, I'm pulling out the keyboard again. So, I hope that's motivation. He went
He
silent.
went totally
I think
silent.
he's
You
thinking.
can mute us if you want. You can think.
Oh, sorry. I'm talking to chat. I'm not telling you my plans now because you're gonna.
No,
cheat
that's
and-
good. We're gonna give you a bit more time. I'm gonna give you 6 minutes for this game. Nothing more.
Sweet.
Oh, he lost a bet. Oh, that's how he ended up doing that.
Oh, that's great. We need to start
yeah.
making bets with
we
Mr.
do need to
Llama.
start making bets with him.
Okay, he found.
Well, he didn't take the rook. He spent 2 minutes to do that. Llama.
Llama.
I forgot about the rook.
Okay, I'm gonna try and be tricky.
okay, you can-
I'm gonna try to hang on to all my pieces.
Now
here.
you actually might be hard. Well, actually,
You can suggest moves
oh
you
yeah.
like for him too.
I
since
wonder
we're
if he could
muted.
try to go to g7, like in this position. Well, it's not like he could push e6 though. If he could get his, and he can't get his queen to f6 because of your knight. So
You should have just taken the rook
I
right away.
know. Thought he was gonna see it.
And d5 is tricky now because of knight takes d5. But I mean, I'll still feel like he's better. It's just actually a little
yeah,
tricky.
it's trickier for sure.
Maybe bishop b5.
Doing what? Coming to I don't think
Yeah, you
bishop
don't
b5.
really want to trade.
Yeah. Wait, why doesn't he just push d5? Oh, because
Knight takes.
e5 is hanging.
Yeah.
Well, no, knight takes. Then you might be able to take on f7, but I think rook takes, attacking the queen is better. What else could he do? He could try bang bang. It's tough.
Just checking on our YouTube video thumbnail.
Looks like rook f6 just wins with queen d5. Rook f6 is a free rook. And queen d5 is also a free queen. So very suspicious suggestions from the chat. Yeah, well, I think he knew he was attacking the rook, but I don't know, maybe he knew it and then just forgot he could take the rook. But if he would have taken that rook and then traded pawns, it would have been much better because he would have been at least up.
Bishop b5.
And
No,
now-
I actually thought this was.
Oh,
the
he did
best
play
move
bishop b5.
also,
Wow,
too.
he saw me
Basically
reaching
like
out.
try to get rid of the knight and then bring your queen into the
Oh,
dark
and then
squares.
maybe push. Oh, he can't push d5, but
Okay, so he saw that plan. Because now I can't play bishop e3 because he's starting to take and push. I
well,
think
he
this is a
still
very
can't
good move.
push because black could take d5.
My dark squares are so weak here. Like, I don't even like moves like rook d8. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to try to promote and see if he can handle it.
Great plan.
Thanks, Andrea.
Great plan. Let's see. Okay, so let's say after bishop takes knight, queen takes, what can he do? He cannot push d5 yet. Oh, but he could try to get his queen to f6 since the knight is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So forcing your queen to defend, like on e6. Let's say like he trades and then plays queen f4, and then black has to play queen e6.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
But
no,
then
yeah, no,
D5
pawn
doesn't
bishop
work as
takes,
bishop
yeah.
takes. Yep.
It's an interesting plan.
Feel
Oh,
free
but he
to
could
add your
rook
third
f6.
sister.
He should play rook f6 and then queen f4.
Rook f6 and
because
queen
then
f4
queen
is a
e6.
very
Yeah,
nice
he has a good
idea.
plan here. He has a good plan.
I'm going to give him more time.
Let's see if he can find this plan. I think that is the winning plan. I guess you can defend with rook e7, but he should definitely have like sacks or something at that point. No, actually. Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. I think he can't take f7 right now because of the bishop.
Do you want to give him some tips?
No. I don't want to make him lose his focus.
He
He looks stressed.
He does look
like,
stressed.
he looks really stressed.
Chat, you guys have to check out. You should have the stream open from Mr. Llama's point of view as well, because he looks very stressed out. Not saying
He
it's
does
funny,
look very
but give him some.
Okay.
Just give him some love there,
I'm gonna
you guys.
grab a cup of tea, and then I'll make it really. Do you want anything?
Yeah. Can you just bring me a turmeric water?
Yeah. All right, I'll be right back.
I've drank more turmeric since I've been home than probably the rest of my life combined.
One more time, I'm gonna celebrate.
Oh yeah, stop the dancing. No, my dad just bulk buys turmeric carbonated water. It sounds disgusting, but it's actually pretty tasty, okay? It has some curcumin in it too, furry-footed. Okay, so what about... No, I don't want to go here because he's bringing his queen. So let's protect. You haven't seen Llama so stressed even with world record runs. He's trying, you guys. He's trying. Carb water? What do you mean carb water? Does it mean... Oh, carbonated water. Because I was going to say, I don't think it has carbs, Gerber. Gerber, there was something gross that you liked. Didn't you say you like worm soda or something? Guys, Gerber Baby, we can't trust Gerber Baby's worm soda taste here. Okay. Wow, he's looking for the plan. Okay, good. I respect it. Let's try to stay defending here. I didn't want to take him yet, and this is getting us away from the pin as well. It's funny because queen here, I can't actually take the knight. Okay, he's getting real fast, real furious here. I'm going to take the rook now, though. Queen f3 was an interesting idea, but if he takes knight take... Is Botez really only in 1895? No, I think this was just like a... I don't play 15-minute chess on chess.com. Okay, rook takes, and let's see. Now I will come back with my bishop to try to defend things here. Do 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 boop 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 ba ba da 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 do 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 do. Okay, so this looks kind of free to me. Are we missing something here, Chad? I think we're just attacking his queen. I mean, we're tricking him. We're tricking him with the tactics, but you think the clock is stressing him out the most? Aww. He is trying to be tricky.
Plan? Oh no! What is he doing? What's happened?
He's on a little bit of a struggle, bless him, Brea. We've managed to save the situation. Thank you for the
I'm gonna have to plug the
heart
keyboard.
of turmeric. Curcumin infused sparkling water with a twist of lemon.
Can we take up the earbuds? I guess never mind. Llama will
Yeah,
have to
let
go.
me just finish
No,
this
it's okay.
game
We
and then
can't
we'll
do
swap.
that.
I mean, he's muted right now anyway.
Yeah, but we're gonna unmute him, so we'll leave it. Can I fix this so I can watch? It doesn't slow down
It's
much.
just our computer has been so bad. Here you go.
Then he went on a losing streak. Streams Live, I know. Sometimes you just have to take a break.
Oh, did I just blunder
got
my
a little
rook?
burnt out.
Have I just been leaving my rook here?
What? Okay, Llama doesn't see. Oh, it's too late now. Oh wait, you're in a fork.
It's okay. I'm just gonna push this pawn.
You can stop it. I think it's pretty hard though.
Yeah, no, this is
You're gonna
lost.
finesse.
I have too many
Bang,
pawns.
bang, bang. No. Oh yeah, it is lost. Well, he can bring his rook to A1. Oh, you're up so much material. Never mind.
You take me to
I didn't realize you're up 3 pawns.
Okay. I could just play rook A8 and go for it.
I wish you
The
could
little
like.
pawn that could, Andrea.
I wish he could have back rank mated you or something, but he doesn't have anything.
You wish, yeah.
I do.
Andrea would have really enjoyed that.
I would have been happy for Llama. That's nice, Streams Live. Our family keeps wanting to plan a trip, but I'm like, Mom, that's the defeating purpose if we all go together. Because the point is that we all want to break from each other. Well, me and Alex want to break.
He offered a draw. Do we take it?
No.
No. No pity draws.
I should have brought a spoon.
Boom, on